Okay, last video for the evening. Under content, you will find week 2 assignment, intermediate painting. Um, Once you've located that, you'll see that here we have descriptions for the different stages of that particular assignment in the form of photographs. So the first one we'll look at is just simply the end result. In this case, here is the reproduction that I picked, and then here would be the demonstration that by now you've all seen happen. Now, let me just try to articulate as best as I can the purpose of doing this. So, when we try to do a copy from an old master painting, specifically from a reproduction or even in a museum situation, we at times begin to fetishize the objects or the image in which we're working from to the degree that they're almost always put in the wrong place. By putting this upside down, what you're doing is you're telling your brain and your eye to map everything out in terms of its overall structural integrity. So you're looking at the shapes that make up the image. That way, things are organized in such a fashion that you'll be able to understand the grand scheme of the painting, the structural integrity, the way in which things are built, the architecture of it. So that's vitally important. That way you get a hold of the whole sense of the reproduction, not just one section. All right, so that's the end result. And then, of course, I want to discuss, if you haven't done already or need help figuring out how to format your canvas, you begin first by creating a margin. So that's to say you take your canvas and you give yourself a 1-inch margin and use a right angle drawn like this, and you simply slot your reproduction into that right angle. All right, easy enough. Then the next step is to enlarge that format, and you're going to need a large ruler or a yardstick. And what you do is you lay that yardstick across diagonally your reproduction that aligns itself perfectly in that corner and then meets the corner of the reproduction. So in this case, this reproduction is quite small, so I blew it up 4 times. But in the case of the reproductions that everybody else has, they're relatively large ones. So I think the parameters I gave was really no less than 5 or 6 inches. So you would simply go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you hit that margin or that mark, you make a demarcation there, showing that you have in fact gone the 5 to 6 inches outside, and then you can find your new format, which is to say that you draw the line and it would stop at that particular point. And you will be able to find a new format that looks like this. So that particular point that you stopped at after having enlarged it, like I said, in this case, it's certainly much more than 5 to 6 inches. But in your case, it's the same idea. And where that point stops, you then make a right angle, right, that will allow you to make another 1-inch margin. Now, that point right there, you should make a measurement that is equal distance from there to there, as well as from there to there, so that you have something that's square. All right, so after that's done, you simply cut the canvas from that new format, and then here is an image of what it looks like gessoed. Now, you're going to have to do 2 coats of gesso. As you can tell, it's student grade gesso, so it has a somewhat translucent quality. Once that dries, just simply apply a second coat. Okay? And that is how you reformat your image. All right.